Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Late Than Never podcast. I am so glad that I was able to make it on another week in a row. I've really been enjoying doing these podcasts, and if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you are on Spotify or YouTube, I would really appreciate it. And thank you so much for showing the love that you have so far. Also, follow me on my Instagram because that is where I am at majority of the time, and you can keep up with my daily life and all that good stuff, and kind of really see what I'm about. I am a Southern lifestyle content creator is what I like to say. I don't really know what title you would put on it. A lot of people like to say influencer or blogger or whatever you would call it is fine with me. But I love to just post content of my life. I love fashion, so I love to take pictures of new clothes that I have and find and all the good fashion trends going on at the moment. So yeah, a little bit of everything, a lot of animals and good stuff like that. So you can follow me on Instagram at Alexis with 2 S's, Noelle, Noelle. And then I'm also on TikTok as well. So yeah. So today's podcast, I am totally winging it. I literally wrote no notes or anything like that because today's topic is going to be a little deep, and I feel like the best way for me to go about it is just to wing it because I have a hard time explaining things sometimes. So when I think about it too much, I just brain fart and can't get out what I'm trying to say and the message that I'm actually trying to get across. And today I'm gonna dive kind of deep into my childhood and kind of what made me who I am today. And growing up, I was always taught to not air out your dirty laundry. But this is gonna be the dirtiest of laundry. I feel like this is the laundry that is in the bottom of the laundry basket and has had damp towels on top of it and has soaked in some of that dampness. And yeah. So we're digging deep, but it's okay. I do this because I feel like hopefully it can help somebody who has gone through something similar, or is going through something similar and just needs words of encouragement, because that's a big reason why I wanted to start this podcast. And I know my topics might seem a little sporadic, but I feel like that's the point. I don't want to have to talk about just one thing. And I really want for y'all to see that I'm very authentic, and everything is what you see is what you get with me, honestly. Let's be real. But yeah, as the title of this podcast, that I have forgiven my drug addict parent. That's a mouthful, and there's so much to go into that, but I don't even know where to start. But I growing up have had a parent. My mom has been in and out of prison pretty much my entire life. There's so much that honestly is blacked out in my mind, because I'm sure you've heard when people go through trauma, they tend to forget the memories, or what they just forget and they black things out because that's just what your brain does. And so a lot of my memories are kind of foggy. But yeah, that's just how it goes. I'm gonna bring up my blog while I'm talking to you guys, because I wrote something when so I really like to write when I am feeling I always have journaled growing up, as a kid. I would journal pretty much everything I have gone through. And so if I was going through something, I would write it down. And if you are that kind of person, then I definitely would recommend, I might not be able to find it, but I would recommend writing your feelings down, because it really, you can go back to it once you like grow into the person that you are, and just see how much you've grown as a person. Okay, well, I'm gonna just leave that alone and just speak from the heart. So let me make sure. Okay, so when I was about, I want to say 6 years old, it was me and my older brother growing up. He's 2 years older than me, so he was 8, I was 6. And all I really remember is I know that my dad and my mom would argue a lot, but like didn't really understand why. Obviously, I was very young. And it just got to the point where they separated. Well, it was a lot messier than I feel like I can still even imagine, but my mom was heavily on drugs, and it got to the point where she would do anything to get a hold of some. So I know that she like stole money from my family. She even stole money from me and my brother and when I say money, like little Christmas money that we had gotten and birthday money that my dad would like store away for us. But she would, tap into that. And to this day, there's still so much I don't know, but I just remember one night specifically, my dad just couldn't handle it anymore, and he made my mom leave. And my brother is my half brother, so my dad didn't have biological custody over him. So she took my brother with her that night, and I just remember that night was the night that like my world kind of changed. My older brother was like my best friend growing up, and if you think about it this way, it's basically like having your mom and your brother ripped away from you in a matter of seconds without realizing how much of an impact it would make on your entire life. And so I did grow up a little bit with a single dad, but basically what happened is my mom, took my brother with her and got into some trouble. Who knows, for drugs. I think she was like forging checks, all that kind of stuff. And since my dad didn't have biological custody, my brother was put into foster care. And so that was really tough on him. I can't even imagine, as like a 8-year-old child. And then his dad, his biological dad, came into the picture and got legal rights of him and basically cut off all communication with my family. So my brother was basically ripped away and put into this whole new family. Like, he didn't really know his dad that well, and he definitely didn't know his stepmom, and my mom was put into prison. So it was just me and my dad, and I still didn't even know that my mom was on drugs. Like, they never really told me. I think either they were trying to protect me or they just thought that I knew it was going on, but I definitely didn't. So I wasn't like really raised up until my stepmom came to have like to be really religious. And I remember just like not even knowing who God was and like praying at night, like, please Lord, like give me my brother back. And like that was my first sense of heartbreak ever, was losing my brother at a very young age of like 6 or 7. So I feel like that was the start of a little bit of a traumatic childhood. And when I say I cried for my brother every night, I literally did not see him for, I think it was like 16 years. Social media just started to become a thing, like MySpace. And I remember, like, I wasn't even allowed to have a MySpace, but like I created a MySpace just so I could see if I could find my brother, like as a kid. And so I would search for him on there, or my dad even like tried finding what school he was in, because he moved states. He moved all the way to Missouri. So my dad was like trying to research and find what school my brother was going to, and then maybe send letters. And my brother never got the letters. It was like crazy. It was like we were trying to find a long lost family member. And it was really heartbreaking for me. And then I had to kind of deal with the battle of my mom being in prison. And that was really hard because as a kid, I was brought to this prison, and like having to see your mom like sitting across from you in an orange jumpsuit was, yeah, just something that you can't even explain. And my dad was just such a good dad. Like, he's always been such an amazing father. Like, he would go with me, and like, just imagine sitting with your ex-wife who is like a felon in prison. Like, that's not fun with your little girl. So yeah, and I just remember like even like before my mom was in prison, like when my parents were separated, like, and I was in elementary school, she was just, she would be like, okay, well, I'm gonna come visit you at lunch. And when you tell a little girl or a little boy, I'm gonna come sit with you at lunch, it's like the biggest thing ever. Like, I would tell all my friends, like, oh, my mom is coming today and she's gonna sit with me at lunch. And there was like this designated table for parents that came and sat with me at lunch. So I'd go sit at that table, and like all the other kids would have their parents there, and I would just sit there alone because my mom would never show up. And that happened like multiple times, and even that as like a child was a little traumatic, because you're just like, when your parents tell you something, you're gonna believe them. Like, you're not gonna think, oh, like, is my mom lying to me? Like, is she gonna flake on me again today? No, like, you expect your parent to show up to lunch. And so eventually I got to second grade, and my teacher actually ended up becoming my stepmom. So my dad has a really cute love story. He like fell in love basically with my second grade teacher, and he like would email her, like, not inappropriately obviously, but like he would come read to the class. Or when I was star student one week, like, he went all out and like send letters every day about how proud he is of me. And like, my dad had some, as they call it, riz these days. So yeah, he fell in love with her, and she was honestly like the biggest blessing in my life. She was a very Christian woman, or is a very Christian woman, and she introduced me to the Lord. And so that was the start of, my life starting to look up. But, still battling with my mom, disappearing randomly. Like, there was one year, and when I was in third grade, where my parents, we didn't have any word from my mom for months. And this actually became like a thing where like I wouldn't hear from my mom for months, not knowing if she was literally dead or alive. And like, my parents thought maybe that she had like overdosed, and we just didn't know. And I remember like one day in my third grade, like, they called me down to like the office, and they were just like, we just wanted to let you know, like, we found your mom, like, she's okay. And still, I just really didn't understand. I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, like, I didn't even really realize that she was missing. And so eventually, like, I get to the age of 15, and I can't really remember exactly what had happened, but my parents just like kind of dawned on them that like, does Alexis like really know what's going on with her mom? And I came home from high school, and they just kind of dropped the ball on me, and they were like, your mom is a drug addict. This is why she's in prison. And they showed me like letters that she had written that were like accidentally sent to us that she had meant to send to like other people that were just like very vulgar and just like not something a good person would write. And yeah, it came crashing down on me pretty badly. And yeah, I kind of just like hardened my heart at that point and kind of realized like my stepmom is more of my mom now. And every time like I would think my mom would be like doing better, I would start getting calls from prisons. And I would start getting calls from probation officers wondering where my mom is. And like I'm just like this innocent girl in all of this and was always just put in the middle. And then there's a couple of stories that I do want to share that are a little kind of crazy. But this was even before I knew that my mom was the kind of person that she was. And so she would like hop around from like boyfriend to boyfriend a lot. And these guys were just horrible. Like they were gross. They were part of that scene. They were probably drug addicts themselves. They always lived in these nasty places. And my parents didn't realize when they were like dropping me off to go visit my mom that they were like literally putting me in danger every single time. I remember one time she was driving me to pick up one of her boyfriends at the time, and he was wasted, drunk, off of his mind, and I'm sitting in the passenger seat. He gets in the seat behind the driver's seat, and he pulls out a knife and puts it to my mom's neck, and is telling her that, like, he's gonna kill her while she's driving, and I just did not know what to do. Like, I was probably like 12 years old at the time. So I start crying and she's freaking out, and I'm just thinking, like, what is about to happen? Like, what's about to happen to me? And luckily she pulls over and he gets out of the car and nothing happened. Then there was times where like her boyfriends would have sons, and I remember one time waking up in her bed and the older son, like he was much older than me, I would wake up and he would be just like basically just in boxers and like cuddled up next to me. And I'm definitely like under the age of probably 15, 14. And would wake up to her screaming and like throwing plates at these men and just like such toxic stuff. She, even when I was younger than that, like she would always have a new apartment because she could never hold one down. And I don't know how she would end up getting a place to rent to her, but she would need new stuff for her apartment, so we'd go to Target or wherever, and she would load up carts full of stuff, and she would take the Walmart bags or wherever we were, and she would put the stuff in the Walmart bags, and then she would take like an old receipt, and like she would just walk out with the carts, and she would have me push one and like have the receipt in her hand to look like she just paid for everything. And I remember telling me, like, if you hear the alarm go off, just keep walking. And, you know, as a kid, I'm just like, okay. So yeah, just like multiple just red flags that like I just had such rose-colored glasses for my mom. I've always loved my mom deeply and just always thought that she was, I don't know, even though she was this person, I always just loved her so much and unconditionally. And like I would have stacks, y'all, of letters, and I still have them to this day, stacks of letters addressed from prisons, from her just writing me letters over all the years from all the prisons, because like I couldn't see her, so we would just write back and forth. And going back and reading them now, like they all kind of say the same thing. Like she apologizes, and whenever she gets out of there, she's gonna be a different person, and um, but yeah, like from 2004 to now, like just stacks of letters from prisons. And yeah, it just, once I got to college, I really hardened my heart. I was a little party girl. She would call and I would just ignore every single call because I just could not deal with it. And she's at this point now as a 50-something-year-old woman, where I feel like the drugs have just like pretty much killed her brain cells so much. And all of this just hurts my heart to say, and I feel like if she was to listen to this or watch this, it would probably break her heart, but I'm just telling the truth. And it sucks for me to like talk about my mom this way because I still love her unconditionally, but it's just it's the truth. But yeah, her brain cells, I feel like, are so fried from all the drugs that she took that she's literally like stuck in time. Like when I speak to her to this day, which is not very often, but when I do, it's like she thinks that I'm still that 13-year-old girl that she can like manipulate. And I don't know, she just talks to me like I'm a little girl, like she calls me like Lexi girl and like I love you, like just talks to me like I'm a little girl, not like an adult. I literally honestly cannot remember the last time we've had an adult conversation. And that's just, I feel like how it will always be, which is really, really sad. So yeah, she's just like stuck in like time. And then also she like forgets things very easily, so she'll just like say the same things over and over. Like the other day I messaged her and said, oh, like I'm about to take Trix to the vet, like this happened, blah blah blah. And then the very next message was literally, oh, so are you taking her to the vet? And it's just like, I how do you have how do you have a relationship with somebody like that? And my older brother has suffered from it too. He had definitely a darker upbringing than me, which breaks my heart. He fell into the drug scene and has overdosed a couple times and almost died. And that and I went through that kind of recently, like last year, and that was very hard on me because not that I like blame myself for what happened, because like it obviously wasn't my fault, but it's always like, well, what if I that night had said, please don't take Austin, like I don't want Austin to go, like he could have had a good upbringing like I did. And all those years that I was looking for him and like my heart was breaking, he was going through like this horrible childhood and like falling into the drug scene and falling into what my mom fell into. It was just really, really hard. And luckily him and I are close and we talk much more to this day. But it's just crazy how like one person's decision can affect somebody else's life for the rest of their lives, especially a child. And I think it put a lot of separation anxiety into my life. So like I attach very easily to people, especially if like I'm given that love and affection from somebody. Like I want that forever because I almost feel like it's gonna be gone or it's gonna be taken away from me. And it just, having my mom kind of ripped away from me, I was always a daddy's girl, but like I depended on my dad for a lot, and like I always wanted my dad to fix things. I always wanted my dad to tell me he loved me all the time. And like if my dad ever got mad at me, like I would want him to apologize because like I felt like he didn't love me anymore if he didn't. And so I've always been an emotional person because of these things, and I've always been very loving and very forgiving. Like, I can forgive somebody so easy, just like I forgave my mom. Because, like, if somebody could do something that deep to me, then, and I can forgive them, then I can forgive so many other little things. But yeah, like, I think what really got me through it the most was my relationship with Jesus and the Lord. And since I can love so easily, it was just like so easy for me to fall in love with Jesus. And it's a kind of love that, like, I've never you can't even explain it. Like, once you're saved and, like, you really, really truly believe that you want to give your life to Jesus and you love him, like, it's just like the most overwhelming feeling on this planet Earth. And so when I got to high school, I joined a church and everything kind of changed for me. I remember this man coming to speak to my church, and he started talking about how he was in prison. And I can't remember exactly what he said he was in prison for, but he was just telling me how he didn't think, or he was telling us how he didn't think that he was gonna ever get out of prison. And so he, started reading a Bible. And from there, his love and relationship with the Lord started to grow and grow and grow. He started gaining hope and faith, and eventually he got out of prison when he literally thought that he was never going to get out of prison. And I just remember when he said that, I physically felt like all of these walls just tumble around me. And I just go up to him in the middle of this, speech he's giving in front of all of these other people. And I'm just like, my mom is in prison right now. And, like, what you're saying to me for some reason is, like, truly, like, saving me. And he prayed for me on the spot, and that was just, like, the night that I was, like, pretty much saved, and I got baptized right after that. And, you fall in and out of faith. Like I said, when I got to college, my heart was hardened, and I wasn't answering my mom's calls. I kind of became like a party girl. And I did lose that faith because my mom went back to prison. And like I said, she was always in and out. But that last time she went back when I was in college, I just thought, like, this is it. Like, this is just, like, how am I supposed to forgive her after this? How am I supposed to talk to her? How am I supposed to, I don't know, like, it just hurt me so bad. And eventually, like, life kind of just hit me, and I was like, I started to appreciate life a little bit more and my family members a little bit more, because I started realizing that I'm getting older, and so my parents are getting older, and you won't have them in your life for as long as you might think. Sorry guys, one second. So I eventually just picked up the phone one day when she called from a prison, and I don't even know how, to this day, it's been about, I want to say 10 or 11 years since I've even seen my mom face to face. Maybe like 10 years. Yeah. But yeah, I picked up the phone and I just spoke to her and started to speak life into her, I guess, and like what I would learn from church, and I would try to, give her that hope. And I don't think her and I will ever be close like we were when I was a little girl, and I was a little innocent little girl, and I didn't understand the magnitude of what she was doing with her life and how it was affecting her children and everybody around her. But I do forgive her, and I've learned to grow so much. I actually just turned 29 on Tuesday. So I'm 29 now. I have one more year left in my 20s. And I've just matured so much through all of this. I mean, I've become so independent from it all. Meaning like I'm just not scared to do things as much as I used to. I'm at that point in my life where I'm like, I'm just going with the flow. I'm just winging it. But yeah, the point of this all is that I hope if you have a loved one that is struggling with an addiction, or you yourself are struggling with addiction, you have to just remind yourself that they're the only ones that can really save themselves. As horrible as that sounds, like, you don't want to watch somebody you love, like, suffer or almost kill themselves or go to prison. But all you can really do is just, maybe if you're a Christian, maybe try to introduce them to your faith subtly, because I've learned, like, if you're just you come on too strong with that kind of stuff, like, that's the last thing they're going to want to hear, because they're just going to be like, well, you're just Bible thumping, you're just so holy, and like, you think you're perfect, because trust me, I've heard that before from some family members, that I was thinking maybe I was gonna talk some sense into, and then I'm just like met with force. And I don't know, just be there for them, be loving, and know that it's gonna take time, because like I said, I'm still going through it with my mom, and that started 20 years ago. I mean, there was times where I thought my mom was gone, like, or dead. And if someone like her can survive to this day, then I have hope for so many other people, because, I mean, I've gone searching for her, literally, physically. Have driven hours to see if I could find her, have knocked on doors. I mean, I will do whatever it takes, because that's just the kind of person I am. But yeah, I just want to be I don't want to say be like an inspiration, but like, I don't know, that just has a lot to do with who I am and a little bit of what I've gone through in my life. There's so much more to it. Like, I'm just trying to give y'all the gist of it, because I don't want to bore y'all to death. But yeah, I mean, addiction is hard, y'all. Like, you can really be addicted to anything, but and I feel like so many people struggle with this stuff, especially nowadays. But please just be careful, because fentanyl, that stuff is just so dangerous. My brother literally has almost died. My older brother has died almost, well, I think he actually did die, and they brought him back. But yeah, that drug is so deadly, and I think that was something that really messed him up for a little while. But he's doing so good now, and I'm just so blessed and so thankful for that. And if you guys are struggling and you just need somebody to talk to, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to hear your stories or talk through it all with you, because I totally understand where you're coming from. And yeah, so I hope everyone has a great holiday, because it is literally coming up so fast. It's so crazy. And this time of year, people can be very, either very happy or very depressed. And yeah, the holidays just bring out the good or they bring out the bad. I feel like there's no really in between. Because you might have bad memories that associate with this time of year. And I hate that. I really do. I wish everybody could just like be happy around this time of year, because it's definitely my favorite time of year, but I totally get it. So, yeah, don't be alone for Christmas. If you're alone on Christmas, just go see a movie. Go see a movie by yourself. That's like the best thing ever. Like, just, I mean, you don't really talk to anybody during a movie anyway. So, like, treat yourself with a big bucket of popcorn and go see a movie. It doesn't even have to be a Christmas movie. Go see a freaking horror movie. I don't care. Go treat yourself to some Starbucks. Just don't be alone. Don't sit around and wonder what is wrong with yourself, because there's nothing wrong with yourself. And also remember that there is one huge meaning for the holiday, and that is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who was born apparently around this time of year. Not very sure if it was exactly the 25th, but we're celebrating Jesus's birthday, and we would not be here if it was not for him. So thanks guys for listening, and comment what you want me to talk about next. Love you guys.